Welcome back. Again, with me today are Mayor Richard Veenstra, Dr. Scott Helton from School District 88, Linda Sands Van Kirk from College of DuPage, and we're discussing Addison's Workforce Development Committee. Our entire community, the residents and businesses, are benefactors of the relationships that have developed with the committee members, and especially the relationship between School District 88, the College of DuPage, and the Village of Addison. That relationship has led the Village of Addison to be the pilot model for College of DuPage's Project Higher Ed. Our residents and businesses will be paired together so Addison as a whole can continue on its path to success. Dr. Helton and Linda have both played integral parts in making this project a reality. Linda, as head of the program, could you talk us through what is Project Higher Ed?
I would be glad to. So our first model under Project Higher Ed is actually an apprenticeship model. Some people call it an earn and learn model, and the reason they call it that is because there's three components. There's classroom curriculum, there's on-the-job skills building or on-the-job training, and then there's an employment component. And the apprentices are hired by employers and they receive a paycheck from the first day of work. Their wages increase over time as well, assuming that they progress with skills development and knowledge development and demonstrate proficiencies in those skills and knowledge.
Great, and the on-the-job training component is certainly very important.
Definitely.
As well as the time in the classroom, their ability to actually apply what they're learning in the classroom
Right.
At the employer that they will hopefully one day have a lifelong career with. Is very important. And so could you talk us through a little bit how the curriculum was developed and the role that the employers had played in the development of the curriculum?
Sure, I would be glad to. So we start by having a meeting with the employers and we have a conversation about what those hard to fill jobs are and what the skills are that are needed for those jobs. Based on that, we do a deep dive into the position descriptions and talk about the duties of the jobs, the very specific skills that not necessarily they're saying they need, but what do they really need? That's what's important. And what skills do they need for those specific duties? Go ahead.
And some of those are technical and others are a little different, aren't they?
Correct. Some of those are technical skills and some of those are what we call soft skills, which we've heard about quite a bit. Once we have that conversation, and to your point, especially around the soft skills components of that, we then develop competencies that these prospective employees would need. After we had that session with the employers, and usually it's a couple of conversations, brought that back to the college and to our faculty at the college and asked them to create a curriculum that would help teach those skills, those competencies to the students. For the Addison model pilot, for example, our faculty pulled together existing classes that we had already offered, already accredited courses, and they put together a certificate that is pending Illinois Community College Board approval, but already accredited courses so the students can start taking them. And the certificate was designed in such a way to be flexible depending on the needs of the employer. So if there were certain classes that they thought met the needs of their particular jobs but weren't necessarily categorized in one of the tracks, which we can talk about, then the employer has the ability to swap out after having conversation with the faculty to make sure it's still logical and makes sense.
Great, and so Mayor, what benefit do you think these skills and courses lead to our manufacturers and our businesses here in the Village of Addison?
Well, one of the things that we identified early on is because of some of the potential job seekers that we have in town, the soft skills were a very important part of what they needed to learn. The importance of being at work on time, punctuality, the expectations of the workplace are soft skills that have to be learned and taught. That was a prerequisite certainly to learning the nuts and bolts of the job itself. So that was a component that we were very cognizant of needing to instill and to develop as we then looked at the full curriculum for what the job needs were.
And then after they go through some training on those soft skills, they go into some technical skills, which there isn't just one route. Students could actually take multiple routes.
Correct. We actually call them tracks. So for the Addison Model Pilot, there are 7 tracks. And these are all tied to manufacturing area and manufacturing jobs. That is our model or our pilot. So those tracks are, I can read them for you, manufacturing machining, manufacturing CNC, facility maintenance, industrial maintenance, HVAC, welding, and electromechanical. So each of the tracks is approximately 10 classes, depending on the track. There are 4 foundational skills courses, or soft skills courses, if you will, and then there's another additional 6 or 7 technical skills classes that are tied directly to the job that they'll be doing.
Great, and then now there are very similar programs, and we're so glad to see you leading the initiative for the College of DuPage. But what makes the program from College of DuPage, Project Higher Ed, unique and different from the others?
Well, first off, as I mentioned, it's very flexible. So depending on the needs of the employer, while we have an initial recommendation of courses for each track, if the employer works with our faculty, they can also, as I said, substitute certain classes that make sense. So I think that's pretty unique. Secondly, as is common with apprenticeship programs, the employer pays almost 100% of the cost of the educational piece of the program, as well as the salary and benefits, which is, as I said, pretty traditional for an apprenticeship program. Also, part of the work week is dedicated to classes at the college, and then the remaining time, or the remaining portion of the work week, is the OJT piece, the on-the-job training or skills building piece. And the apprentice is paid for both work, and they're paid for the time that they go to school.
And so the time, they are working a 40-hour work week, but part of that 40 hours is actually part of the classroom.
That is correct.
So they're not doing additional hours over 40, it's just those 40 hours.
Correct, which makes it unique in that many of our students, and many students in general, if they have to work while they're going to school, they're working full-time and then going to class at night or on weekends.
Yeah, and Mayor, would you see this program as a benefit to the residents of Addison?
Oh, clearly. It's something that is creating a win-win for us, in that we have the opportunity to move the socioeconomics of a segment of our community upward, and certainly success in our business sector is dependent on having a skilled workforce. We've heard time and time again that businesses in town are turning work away because they don't have the workforce. So being able to put this together and operationalize it and actually have a flow of skilled workers available is huge for our community.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a great opportunity for some of those that are unemployed, or even those looking to change tracks in their career and move into the manufacturing sector. And so what about for our young adults? Dr. Helton, from your perspective, how are students able to benefit from such a program?
Well, I think the thing we're experiencing nationally is students are graduating from college with just crushing student loan debt. We were working with the Technology Manufacturing Association. They were showing college debt around $160,000 for a 4-year degree for some of our students. Wow. And when you think about this program, there's a delta that exists, or the change. Think about it. If I'm going into this and I walk out without any student debt, that's $160,000 savings. And if at the same time I'm making, say we're making half of the average in the industry, so maybe I'm making $40,000 in salary and benefits over 4 years, I made $160,000. I'm not at $160,000 in debt, so the delta is about a $320,000 change. That is significant, and we release our students from this crushing debt, and I think that's very important for us, and not to sell college for all, because we have kids who graduate who have to go in and go back and retool and go get these degrees because they can't find work because they've got a 4-year degree and very little skill sets. So we've got to rethink this and make sure we engage our students in something more productive earlier in life.
Yeah, a four-year college degree definitely isn't for everybody. And I know we talked a lot about student debt, and so I'm sure folks are wondering, Linda, what does this program cost?
Well, to the participants, it costs almost $0. And of course, there's an almost there. But the only cost that the student has to pay is the application fee, of course, to College of DuPage. But I think I mentioned that there were approximately 10 courses for each track. There is one additional course, and we call it the Project Higher Ed Seminar class. And that's really the first class that they take. This is the only class that they have to pay for. This summer it is $136. So for a one credit class, they would have to pay $136 for that class. The rest is covered by the employer. Now, I know that sounds too good to be true, and it is pretty awesome, but actually that is true. The employer is going to pay 100% of the rest of the cost. But that doesn't leave the student or the apprentice off the hook. They still have to be accountable. And the way they're accountable is they are required to sign what we call a payback agreement. Basically, there's certain criteria in which the student might have to pay back the cost of the education that the employer had paid to date. So things like, let's say that the apprentice or the employee quits their job while they're in the middle of the program. Then they would have to pay back, they agree up front to pay back the employer whatever the employer has paid to date for the cost of their education. Or let's say that they fail a class. If they fail a class, that means they haven't demonstrated the skills proficiency or proficiency in those skills. So that might be another way that they would have to reimburse the employer. But our goal is not to get to the point where the student fails a class. And in fact, we have a significant number of support services to work with the student so that they don't get to that point. And we will, between our faculty, our employer, our other support services at the college, student support services, we're going to be on top of things like that early on. So if the student is struggling in a class well before the end of the term where they might fail a class, we're going to intervene. We're going to get them whatever help that they need, either a tutor or what other kind of support that they need. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Great. That sounds like there's lots of support for those students that are participating in the program. And I know, Dr. Helton, you've been very supportive of the initiative and the program. And so can you talk us through a little bit about what's transpired to help connect your students and parents and staff as well to Project Higher Ed?
Well, obviously the planning process within the workforce development group was about a year and a half in the making. And then our launch point occurred on March 18th, where we brought everybody involved in this, the workforce development leadership. Linda and her team from COD came out, and they met with our guidance counselors, our administrators, and our career technical education staff. And they kind of outlined and framed the program for them. Then on April 30th, what we did, there was a Project Higher Ed kind of tech spotlight event at College of DuPage. So what we did is we invited them, we had our counselors and everybody that saw this program first reach out to our students and their families, and they had dinners at both Addison Trail and Willowbrook High School. Then they bussed the families over to College of DuPage to participate in the spotlight piece. And then on May 8th, Linda came over with her team and met with our parents again as more of a support piece to get them moving towards this. So it was really a deliberate strategy to expose and then connect. So
yeah, it sounds like lots of collaboration, and getting the parents and students involved is very critical to the success of the program overall, because without participants, certainly there is no program. And so I know that possibly some of our viewers here today might be interested in participating. And so, Linda, could you tell us a little bit about what are the requirements and how somebody could be involved?
Sure. So ideally, we would like for anyone interested to attend an information session. But if that's not possible, there are a number of other ways that they can get information. So if they've attended an information session, or if they know that they're interested, first they have to become a COD student. So they have to complete a COD admissions application. There are a number of assessments or tests that the students will need to take in reading, writing, and math. But I qualify that because usually when I say that, especially the math piece, that everybody gets worried about it. There's no actual requirement for a certain score in those tests. Basically, other than a basic level, you have to be able to read, you have to be able to write, on a basic level. And from a math standpoint, our employers, our participating employers, also need a basic proficiency in basic level math. So when the students take these assessments, that helps give us an idea of exactly where they are in those areas. If, for example, a student takes the math assessment and they don't meet that very basic minimum level, we have options to get them the skills training that they need or the development that they need. And maybe they can't participate in the program right then there if they're not at that level, but we're going to do our darndest to try to get them the skills and the tutoring and the help that they need so they can come back at a later time. So after that, then they register for the seminar class, or they could do it at the same time. So after they sign up for the seminar class, then they participate in the seminar class. It's two days, and after that, then the employers will conduct interviews. Once the employer conducts an interview, and if the employer offers them a job and they've passed all the pre-employment testing, then they are officially in the Project Higher Ed program with the plan to start fall term.
Okay, and then let's say somebody here is interested today. Could you provide that contact information?
Sure, I would be glad to.
Who they could best call or email, or best way to get in touch?
Absolutely. So I can give you all this contact information, but you can always go to the College of DuPage website and just plug in Project Higher Ed, and if you're a visual person, you can see all that on the website. But I'd be glad to provide that to you. So if you need information, you can contact Ileana Nava. She's our program assistant, and her phone number is 630-942-2953. Or you could email any questions to project-higher-ed@cod.edu. We also have a web page, which is cod.edu/project-higher-ed. If you remember that, it'll be a miracle, so just go to the website. Also, if you are a new student, and you want to go directly to admissions and getting your admissions application to COD completed, you can contact Angela Nakovic, and she is the admissions rep, by email at nakovic@cod.edu or by phone at 942-2398. And if you're a current COD student and you're already taking classes, but you're really excited about this, you can contact Peter Deeman, who is an advisor. And he would be at Deeman, DEEMAN, P as in Paul, @cod.edu, or by phone at 942-2548.
Thank you, Linda. And I know that it's still early in conversation, but there has been some talk about further looking to collaborate around this effort between the high school as well as the community college. Dr. Helton, could you explain kind of what that effort looks like and what that may present?
One of our board goals annually is to expand our dual credit program with local colleges and universities, and a big driver is expansion of dual credit and dual enrollments with College of DuPage. And annually we've grown, and we will expect to continue that progress, and then maybe even within this program. And then also looking for more and more certification programs too for our students. So when they graduate from high school, they've at least got 15 hours worth of college credit. So those are the pieces we're working on as we go, and College of DuPage has been an excellent partner there.
Yeah, really looking to get students career ready. So Linda, from your perspective from the community college, what might that partnership and collaboration look like?
Thank you. So we've been partnering, as Scott said, we've been partnering with his high schools for quite a while with dual credit classes, and we do have a number of existing courses. I think our goal is to see if we can make available the 4 foundational skills courses via dual credit, so that students in high school can start taking those courses, And by the time they graduate, they'll have received the high school credit for those classes as well as college credit for those classes, which puts them that much farther ahead of the game. So by the time they graduate, they've already taken the 4 foundational skills courses. So now all that's left are the 6 or 7 technical classes that they'll have to take. And oh, by the way, that also helps the employer because that's 4 fewer courses that the employer will have to pay for.
Yeah, really giving them a leg up in the program.
Definitely.
And putting them a step ahead of their other folks that participate. And Mayor, any final thoughts or?
You know, only that it's really refreshing and exciting to see so many elements come together, whether education, manufacturing, business, municipal, working together on a common cause that is very important to all of us. And, you know, we refer to that as the Addison advantage. So it's really refreshing to see, and it doesn't happen in a lot of places.
Yeah, we certainly have some wonderful collaboration within the Workforce Development Committee, and we've got some wonderful employers that are part of the program. We've got SWD, Pioneer Service, as well as Mauser Packaging. And some of those employers will join us here in the studio on the next segment. As you heard today, the Village of Addison is working to help connect our community from the business with our students, and Dr. Helton from High School District 88 and Linda Sands Van Kirk from College of DuPage have both played big parts in that effort. We thank them for joining us here today, and thank you for watching. Tune in next time when we're joined by some of our business owners and continue the conversation about the Workforce Development Committee. In the meantime, if you're interested in learning more about the Workforce Development Committee or any of the programs discussed today, please contact me at Village Hall by phone at 630-543-4100, extension 7508, or email at akubas@addison-il.org. Thank you.